Welcome back, blood fans, to another spine-tingling season of Reign of Blood. This is season 4, and we're diving even deeper into the captivating world of sharps and needles, where every prick can spark joy, and every heartbeat resonates with electrifying thrill of connection. I am one of your hosts, Miss Kitten, and this is your sharp conversation platform that celebrates the exquisite beauty of blood play, both its artistry and in its intimate nuances. As we gear up for our next big event, Ordeal, get ready to immerse yourselves in stories that will ignite your passions and challenge your boundaries like never before. From the empowering narratives of those who boldly embrace their desires to the intricate exploration of trust and safety in the realm of kink, we'll delve into it all. But be warned, the season is dedicated to those who dare to explore. So consider this your content warning for discussions that will touch on blood, sharp objects, and emotional landscapes they traverse. So whether you're tuning in from the comfort of your own home or while embarking on a midnight adventure, grab your headphones and prepare to embrace the exhilarating. It's time to immerse ourselves in the rich narratives that weave together the fabric of our vibrant, bloody community. Hey, amazing Sharps humans. I'm so excited to be back with Sharps and season 4 of the Reign of Blood. We are gearing down for Ordeal for 2025. We hope you guys are on the Patreon looking at our stencil competition that's going on. We hope you guys have got your tickets and that you're starting to have a look at the classes that are starting to come up. We're really excited to see you, and I'm really excited to be here with Ems today. Yay, my American partner in
Hiya.
crime. Welcome back.
As always, I am super excited about today's guest on the podcast. We, at this point, have gone through a lot of presenters and educators, so it's always lovely when we get to meet someone new. Joining us today is Oran Julius, which I have to not add the j to orange because, yeah, yeah, that's a thing for me.
Shoot, that's fair.
Well, welcome today. Would you like to go ahead and introduce yourself a little bit for our listeners?
Absolutely. Thank you both for having me. My name is Oran Julius. I use they and he pronouns mostly. And I am based in New York City and a kinky switch who's really excited to talk about blood and sharp things today.
We're really excited to talk to you about blood and sharp things. It's the most excited we could be for, for any chat if you tell us we get to mention a whole bunch of bloody stuff. But I'm interested to know a little bit about how you found this wonderful world of kink and stopped being a regular muggle and entered the dark side. And what did that look like?
Yeah, that is a great question. I feel like when I talk to people about how they enter kink, it's usually one of two options. One, they like were sort of always kinky and kind of like into it without totally understanding as a kid, or they like were brought into it by someone they were dating. And I was the former. Um, so it was definitely very drawn to like representations of bondage or like uh spanking or just like things that were like a little kinky that are supposed to go over kids' heads, but like and I guess maybe did, but like was drawn to it in some way. And then when I was a teenager, I like discovered the world of written erotica online, and very quickly fell down a like kink BDSM rabbit hole and was just like, oh my God, I'm so into this. And started exploring from there. I had a partner at the time who was also open and curious to explore, and we just kind of figured things out trial by error as young kids do. Um, and then sort of like as I got older, and like moved to a city, was able to, learn more through books and classes and community and that sort of thing.
And when did you find sharps? How do sharps fall into the picture? I see beautiful ink on your body, so sharps are definitely part of your life. But tell me a little bit about that journey and what it looked like for you.
Yeah, it's funny you mention that because I actually used to be really afraid of needles. And didn't get tattoos until I was like 20, I don't know, in my 20s, something like that. And I like hated shots at the doctor and having blood drawn and everything. And then part of it is I did get more used to them with needles. I mean, sorry, with tattoos. And I really liked body piercings, and I had my nipples pierced, which was like the most painful thing I had experienced at that point in my life. And I was like, okay, if I can survive that, I can do anything. That was my like pain threshold marker for a long time. And yeah, the first time I actually saw needles in play, I was at a play party at a friend's house. I used to go to these parties like every couple months that my friend would host in their like big loft apartment. It was like, I don't know, 30 people, very like punk house, do it yourself, casual play parties with a lot of like hard players. And that was where I sort of got introduced to a lot of the things that I do now. And it was actually a tattoo artist who was piercing someone for play at the party. And they did like a set of needles down the inner thighs of someone and were doing a lot of like manipulation with them. And I remember being like so horrified and like amazed and drawn in at the same time. And I like couldn't look away, but I was like freaked out. And I thought it was beautiful. And um I honestly can't remember if that was the same night I saw Staples for the first time as well, but they were around the same time. And I was really drawn to Staples. I honestly don't even remember why. I just like was. And so I actually started learning with that. I had a friend who um, taught me and a partner how to do them and safely and got really into those really quickly. And then from there, kind of eventually graduated to needles when I felt ready for something bigger because the staples are really, really small. Um, and then basically, the moment I tried needles. Specifically, I started as a bottom, which I think most people should personally, to experience the thing. And I was just like, oh my God, I'm obsessed with this. Like, it's so hot. It feels so good. It's like a delicious pain. And yeah, just from there, just kind of became obsessed. And have like continued to explore it and grow and um, learn to top for it like after, I don't know, a year or two of bottoming. And yeah.
I absolutely loved listening to that. You have an incredible laugh, but you've also got an incredible smile. So watching the
Hmm.
memory make you smile like that was just quite special. And I have to say, like, it's probably one prick and I was hooked. And it's probably the
Yeah.
only prick that hooked me like that. And
True.
when you describe the pain, I so agree with you. It's just delicious. It's just the right amount at the right time and the right intensity, and there's nothing that quite matches that. Um,
Yeah.
and so I'm going to let you ask the next question. What did you want to ask this incredible human?
So, as I was sitting here, I mean, same thing. For one, Miss Kitten is obsessed with tattoos. I also I do tattoos. I actually don't have a single tattoo on my body, and I have two permanent piercings. I need to change that. I just keep saying I want to keep my real estate open for the non-permanent ones.
October, it's a date.
Okay, okay, it's October.
If it happens in October, you're getting a tattoo. Okay, deal.
Okay, okay, deal. Miss Kitten and I are potentially going to be officially meeting in person by October, so
So fun.
we'll
So
see how it goes there.
we'll just add some ink. I was very interested in your staples. We don't get to talk to a lot of people who do intense amounts of staples. I think staples is like sounds terrible, but a gateway kink to needles a lot of the time. It just sounds terrible when I say it, like I'm discussing meth or crack or something else.
But we are highlighting staples for the next couple of months with our Vampire Academy series. So talk to us a little bit more about your love of staples, what you use them for today, why you love them, those kind of things, I guess.
Sure. It's funny, next month I have a class on staples that I'm excited about that I haven't taught in a couple of years at this point, but I love staples for a few reasons. One, because they were like the first sharp, pokey thing that I did. And it was like when I was starting with it, I was really scared, and it was the best, like one of the best scared scenes I had had ever, like with the first time I did it. Like I really love fear play, and I, for better or worse, it takes a lot to scare me. Um, and generally the things that do are things that are new, like a new unknown pain thing. And so that like first instance of having that was like one of my most favorite scenes of all time, with my partner. And I, yeah, so special place in my heart just for that reason alone. But also, I really love um, that when it comes to sharps, they are, I think, a much more accessible form when it comes to like um, hand dexterity. So like if you to like do needles, you need to have a pincer grip to be able to like hold them and maneuver them, which not everyone can. And like I have um a what's the word? I have a like degenerative disease that messes with my joints and stuff, and I can have a lot of hand pain. And so the way that medical staplers are designed, they're just like way easier to manipulate. And so that I think is just like really exciting to me that it is inherently a more accessible form of sharps play. Um, and then I like that like they seem really scary to people, but are also like a lot less intense than needles, I think, personally. But I like that also you can make them a lot worse if you want to. So, particularly, if I'm doing something where I'm really wanting to torment someone as a top, like I will put staples in them and make them do movements that will then make the staples move around and scratch inside. And everyone hates that, and it's so fun for me. And then the other thing that I really love to do is basically like, um, how would I say this? Like DIY easy suturing, basically, where you staple one body part and another body part, and then you zip tie them together. And that is a really fun form of like easy predicament bondage. I like have very little rope skill, so that's an alternative for me that I just think is really fun and silly and painful. I have both done it to people and had it done to myself, and it hurts. So those are some of my favorite things with staples. I'd say the biggest disappointment with them is that they do not produce much blood, which is a big part of the fun.
I'm just so impressed, just speaking all the right words. And the use of zip ties instead of rope definitely ticks my boxes. My rope is more hibachi than shibari. It's, very basic. After many years and lots of money on lessons, I'm still completely useless. So I absolutely love the zip tie thing. I'm definitely going to use that.
Highly
Same, same. Because I usually use either wire or medical tape or some sort
Zip
of
tie sounds so much
line.
more
But the
fun,
zip ties
right?
the zip ties sound evil. I like this. I like it.
They are
I
super
wonder.
evil because they don't move as easily as they like
Uh-huh.
line, and so they'll like jerk and like flip on the people, and it hurts.
I'm gonna have to try these with non-skin staples now.
Yeah, yeah.
That's gonna be what's next for me.
And thankfully they're because of the plastic, they're relatively easy to sterilize. So there's that as well.
Yeah, the disinfection aspects would be significant. I'm gonna have to do a lot more research into this, and I'm gonna have to do some.
It ticked my box as well. I was also smiling after that. I think that's definitely something that I could do, and it sounds faster and easier to thread than trying to get anything else through the staples because it's quite a hard piece of plastic. So I really like that. That was a great
I do
top
like
tip
that.
for me to take home to torture others this week.
Yeah, I should shout out my friend Priestex, who is a NYC area top who taught me that. It was after they took my Staples class years ago, and then they came up with this idea of like how we skin sew in this way, and they were the person who did that to me. And I am forever haunted and thankful.
I'm less haunted because it hasn't happened to me yet, but I'm very thankful. I'll let you know how it
Yeah.
goes on the haunted part after we give it a test drive.
That'll be fun for staple ripping and popping, I think. That'll
Yeah,
make
it was
it pretty
three-legged
simple.
race with people tied together with zip ties and
Oh my
staples.
God, that's so good.
Yes, yes. Oh God, that has to be a thing now. Yeah, no, that makes instead of doing the zipper and doing it stapled and zipper. Yeah, no, okay, yep. That just
Yep.
ticked a box for me because
Yeah, me too.
I'm doing a form of a staple dress, bondage dress for a scene for Kink Fest. That
Cool.
gives me ideas. That gives me ideas.
I have to say, so
So,
sorry, I'm just gonna give you one staple story really quickly. And my only warning with staples is that they can cause the body to produce adrenaline, and the adrenaline can have negative effects on the body. And if you're gonna pass out from sharp staples, is probably you're more likely to pass out from having a staple than having a needle.
this
So
is very true.
just
Is that
something to
because of
keep
the
in mind.
spring load
I think
function?
it's just because
It's
the
the
adrenaline,
anticipation.
yeah, the adrenaline your body's
Mhm.
producing. But funny enough, in my entire career, the only two things that seems to make people pass out is blood cupping with no blood and staples. Yeah, I had a week of them, like three down, one, two, three. They all dropped like stones. So it's just something. It's interesting. I find them less intimate, and I will warn you that if you use them in mass amounts, I think we did 356 in a penis one day.
Mhm.
Taking them out is a
Yeah.
very, very long process. So having a way to rip them out is much more productive.
Uh, sorry, other people are probably pretty used to Miss Kitten and I. We're a little deranged, if you hadn't guessed that already. Um,
I love it. I love it.
no. So the class that you are teaching for us is called Needles, Blood, Size, I believe, or
Glove
Blood
is and
Gloves. There we go. Yep. It was the gloves because I remember exactly thinking because we have a no glove, no love policy for the for the platform, and that's definitely the gloves part stood out to us. I remember now. So let's talk a little bit. I guess this is specifically a Needles 101 based class.
Mhm.
So when folks are looking at, stepping into the world of sharps, Um, what are kind of some of the recommendations that you have for people looking to start the journey? A lot of Reign of Blood folks are very well down into things, but we bring in a lot of new folks too.
Mhm.
So what would you recommend for them?
Yeah, so I think there's a lot to learn. And so just as a beginner, like pace yourself. And I actually forget who said this, so I can't quote them, but I saw um a post recently where someone was saying like blood is not a race, like blood play is not a race, like you should pace yourself. And I think that's really important. Not playing above your skill level is a good way to ensure safer practices. Um, I think taking a class for the first place, like before you try something, is always best practice, especially a class where there is going to be like detailed hands-on learning, whether that's through demonstration or ideally um, you getting to practice along and like under supervision. Um, I also think when people are learning a new skill, that if there's a way for them to learn it on themselves rather than just someone else, that that is really useful and um, a way to like not just be more aware of the experience yourself, but also like not having someone else, be subject to like any errors that you make because you're learning and errors happen when we're learning. Um, and then like the other big thing is just like really learn the safety. Really, really learn the safety. This is a form of edge play. It carries more risks than other things, and that doesn't mean that it is wildly dangerous and we can't have safety measures intact. There's actually a lot of things you can do to protect yourself and anyone involved, and so make sure you know what those things are.
Yeah, I think I loved what you mentioned there, and I'm going to butt in very quickly and say that shops, there is an aura in the shops community that it is about perfection, and I think it's not. It's about being personal, and what that experience looks like doesn't actually really fucking matter as long as the experience is just epic. The two people that had it together, and I think there's a lot of pressure to show up and have perfect work. And I think experience gets lost a lot. So, yeah, find a way to make the intent of the experience the valued part of it, and don't worry so much about what the your technique gets better over time. You get better at everything if you practice. Like that'll come. If there is great intent and the session means a lot, like that is so much more important than how perfectly placed the needles are.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I think we as a community don't always do a great job of demonstrating what it looks like to be an early sharps player and that it's okay to just try one staple or one needle and that
Mhm.
that it can be a full experience in and of itself, that there is this whole entire range of experience that can be savored. Again, I love the joy that is very apparent for you when you're talking about your introduction to these things and your journey there. Uh, that is something to be treasured and cherished. Uh,
Mhm.
and taking that time, being authentic about it, really makes that useful. I mean, there's lots of things to really enjoy being a beginner at in kink. But I think sharps is one of those things where, you know what? If you want a journey, you can have that journey for the rest of your life, literally, and probably beyond. I'm gonna be honest.
No, I
Like,
definitely consider myself still learning, and
mhm.
I know enough to be able to teach other people, but like my I mean definitely in terms of precision, my hands are all over the place again because of my abilities, but I think being willing to recognize that there's more to learn still is a big part of being a responsible player.
And it's enjoyable. Just the process of learning and growing and figuring things out, addressing new challenges. That's the part that we don't talk about often enough, I think. We take the pretty picture of the well done thing and the outcomes of these, and we see it. Um, but we don't talk about just the joy of the journey, wherever and however it is, whether that's 58 gauge needles through a cock or it's a single staple that you're messing with a little bit.
I know this probably is not the right platform, but I think we put the pressure on the community ourselves when we expect them to come into the community and do a Lobus basic as their first ask. So I think what we're selling the community as an achievement is the wrong message. But that's my own personal soapbox. I'm not going to raise it yet.
Yeah. So, I mean, and I think having that capacity to recognize that it's okay to explore our own bodies, it's okay to explore, I mean, because that's really what this is about. We're connecting underneath our skin, underneath our partner's skin, and it's a beautiful thing. So
sorry, I was going to ask you, related back to that comment, how I also encourage people to pierce themselves. I don't think it's fair to ask me to harm you if you're not prepared to harm yourself. If you can't do the action to yourself, you shouldn't be asking me to do the job for you. So that is my logic. It's a very South African thing, though, so it's not universally accepted. But that comes back to a question on what is kink and then what is self-harm in the practice. So how do you advise your new players to be able to identify what is healthy exploration and what is actually bordering on harm?
Yeah, I have to say I am still figuring out the answer to this question. And I think about it a lot. Um, I'm someone with a self-harm history myself, and so I can be a bit wary of the reasons why someone might want to engage in any kind of pain play. But if we're talking specifically about needles or sharps, anything involving cutting and breaking the skin, um, and I think in particular, if someone is self-piercing, that makes me just like kind of look a little closer in terms of why. I know folks who do it because they want to learn, because they want to practice their skill, because they want to try something different. And then I do know folks who have used it as a self-harm process. And um, the mindset, I think, is the thing that's really different, which is hard for anyone else to identify and say. That's really about the person who is going to be doing the thing and being honest with themselves about what their motivation is. Um, are they looking for release, distraction, learning, pleasure, all of those have different motivations that have like different meanings. And I don't know what, Rain of Blood's stance is on self-harm, and I think so edit this if you need to.
No,
But
we're happy to talk about it. And
okay.
we super believe that we should be talking about it. And I don't think you can hide the question in this community. And I think it's something that I probably get asked in my inbox 3 times a week.
Yeah, so what I was gonna say is I don't think self-harm in and of itself is something that like we need to tell people like don't ever do, right? It is a self-regulation method that is sometimes a safer option than other things that people might be doing. I think if people are in a practice of self-harming, whether through needles and sharps or other things, that like harm reduction is an option. There are ways to, increase the levels of safety and decrease the levels of risk in the same way that you would for play. And that information should be available to people as well.
I really do. And I'll stop butting in, sorry.
No, you are a-okay, Miss K.
Feral
Thank
kitten. I'm
you.
just excited because this educated so fun.
You are very fun. So, one of the things that I'm very interested in as a person um, is barriers of entry. Like, what keeps people who are interested in doing this thing from being able to access it and engage in it? Like, what are those hurdles that they're facing? So, in your experience, what are some of the hurdles that some of these newer players experience when they're trying to take the leap into this part of the community?
Hmm. That's a good question. Because I have to say I'm more connected with people who have taken the leap, right? I meet the people
Same,
once they do
same.
show up to the class. But I I will say I have had conversations with people in the past where they've said, "Oh, I want to learn this thing. I'm curious about it." Um, but it's just kind of like not a priority. And so like maybe they don't take the class and they are trying to be careful. And so they're like, I'm not going to do it until I take the class, but then they haven't set aside the time. Um, there is the reality that like money can be tight for folks, and usually these classes are paid things. And maybe someone can't afford a class, and including like the gear. I think needles are relatively cheap in terms of like, I don't know, compared to like leather. But it's still something that costs money. And depending on where you live, access can sometimes be hard to get the materials without a license, medical license. Um, and then I'm sure fear is probably part of it. I'd say that's why it took me the time that it did. Um, I eventually got there, but like if I wasn't scared, I probably would have tried it years before I did. So,
It's interesting, your story. I would say about 50% or so of the Sharps players that I have met have had like a legitimate diagnosable phobia
um,
of Sharps a blood injection injury based phobia.
mhm.
Um, including my partner, who's actually a licensed phlebotomist. Um,
Yep.
still working on that one. But yeah, very much so. And I think there is space for that fear play and that use within the kink itself. I
The
think
other
my
thing,
fear of needles left very quickly, but sorry, you were saying?
yeah, no, sorry to interrupt. The other thing that just popped in my head was you also have to have someone to explore with, right? A lot of people don't want to try a new scary thing by themselves. They like want someone to try it with them. Whether that person is like more skilled and can do it to them or teach them or whatever. And so I think if you're like, oh, I'm into this thing and maybe I feel like it's weird or I feel embarrassed about it or shy, like, and I'm not going to talk to anyone about it, and then I don't know anyone who is into it as well, then that could be a barrier as well to people finding and exploring it.
Think in this community, especially in the shops community, and I know because I'm sort of an outlying area, community can be very limited. So finding people to engage with, and I think a lot of the self-piercing comes from the fact that you just don't find a top. So you get a top it and bottom it for yourself.
Mhm.
And then once you learn to do that, you learn that it's actually amazingly cool, and you don't really want anybody else to top your needles for you anyway. But yeah, I think that finding players with experience or finding someone that can support your journey or finding a community can often be seriously hard. We hear that quite often. And
For sure. And I think you bring up a really great point of, I don't want to do this alone. I think that's a big fear for people is they don't want to attend the class alone. They don't want to do the thing alone, whether or not they're actually doing it with someone, just having that emotional support, that social support there, uh, is a huge thing. It's lovely. I always love it when Miss Kitten and I both have also independent Discord servers. It's so nice when someone goes and just shares a photo in the Discord server and is like, hey, look at the thing I did, and people can share in that joy. It's Sharp's compersion. And it is beautiful, and I think it is one of the things that makes the play so fulfilling for me on that aspect. So yeah, really, really great point there. And I think there are ways that we can, even if we're not in person able to connect with others, I think there are other ways that we can address that, and help support people who are coming in with that kind of a space and mindset.
Mhm.
What is still on your Sharks bucket list?
Ooh.
While you're thinking about that, I'm going to tell you what I learned this week. I learned
Please.
about leeches. I learned that leeches have 300 teeth. Look at that face.
I hate leeches.
300
We warned
teeth.
you. We
300
warned you.
teeth. They have 300 teeth. They have 32 brains.
32 brains?
32
Holy.
brains and 2 hearts. That is the
Hmm.
body of the little leech. Yeah, they're super cool. So that's that's on my bucket list. You're talking about peer play and you're talking about all these things that are disgustingly,
Oh my
amazingly
God.
cool. And I just
That, yeah.
They're also ridiculously expensive. Like, she sent me some screenshots of what it costs to order leeches, and I'm like, I could pay my rent with that, just about.
Yeah. My bucket list. That is a hard one. I mean, I think as a top, um, it is on my Sharp's bucket list to suture someone's mouth closed.
Really fun. Highly recommend.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
5 stars.
then, as a bottom, I'd say going down to an 8-gauge needle, or up, I should say.
It's
Because I
weird,
haven't
because you got to go
done that
down,
big.
but you're actually going up in
Yeah.
size. So it's totally like, come on, people,
Yeah.
help us here. That's
Those
awesome.
ones, the evil fuckers.
The one,
I love
there's
8
one, I
gauges.
think there's
Oh,
a picture
hold
on
on
my.
one second. Someone is at my
Okay.
door. My
Sure.
dog is barking.
But yes,
So,
can definitely encourage the mouth suturing of various types, especially with a zipper. So suture the zipper on the mouth. Makes
Oh
it really easy to remove.
my.
Super great. Super great. Love it.
there's lots of
Especially if you
ways.
can then stuff things in the mouth with it. Mm.
And I have some pictures of 8 gauge needles that were posted on my server this weekend, where they've actually got an 8 gauge needle in the leg and they put a 16 gauge needle through it, and it looks like a straw with a stick in the
Yeah.
middle of it.
Yeah.
When you see it in relation to that, you're like, okay, that's a big ass needle. That's a big ass sharp thing. Yeah.
Working my way.
I've done 3 8 gauges, and 12 is my happy place. The healing time for me is just a lot. So yeah. So, and I just find that the capacity that I need to be able to dedicate to healing my body from things like that is just something that I need to set time aside for. So yeah, in the fantasy land of no work, I would do that every day, but I can't. They definitely have a cost. I think anything up to about an 18 or a 16 are fine, and then anything below that, I really battle for the time period with healing.
Sure. Yeah.
12s are my happy place. 12s are like my absolute go-to
Mm.
happy place between 12s and 16s. Any larger than a 12, again, the healing starts to be a real pain for me with my disabilities and the way that my body responds these days. I take a beta blocker that messes with the way that my skin heals a bit. So that's a pain in the keister, but yeah, no. Definitely read you there.
I loved hearing that staples make shops more accessible for you. That's the first time anybody has really come up with an answer, and I found that very useful. So that's another thing I've made a note of, and thank you for that share. That was quite cool.
Yeah. The one thing I will say is that the removal is still hard. The removal is not the most accessible, though there are a variety of different types of grips, so you could like get something that works better for you.
Or you
But
could get your bottom to do the removing.
that too.
You know, there is always a solution to that. If you want to get yourself out of this, here is the solution. I'll time you. There is a price.
We're lazy sadists over here, like disabilities.
Honestly, I like to do the removal, but I hear you.
No,
Or staple zippers. I am a huge fan of the staple zippers. Medical tape down, chunk, chunk, chunk. We ripping those bitches out.
Well, rip the medical staple up with the tape. The tape won't rip.
No, not the tape that I use. So the tape that I use,
Oh.
actually, I think I've got it over here ready for my staple class tomorrow. Do I have it over here?
Bumming secret staple secrets from you.
Mine, the tape that I use, maybe it's over. It's still somewhere. I still haven't entirely set up for the class tomorrow. But it's like a cloth based, almost like a bandage one. So it's not like the paper medical tape.
Oh, that's what I was thinking. I was just thinking there's no way that would last.
No, the paper medical tape rips. But this one is actually like a woven fiber. And so it sticks quite well. But it comes disinfected, and or you can buy it sterile. I mean, it's expensive, but you can buy it already sterile. I mean, obviously you're still risking getting something small in the wound, but that's easily within my risk profile.
Not like your friends in Africa who use the office stapler and a piece of duct tape, hey? Duct tape, duct tape also has cloth fibers woven into it.
We've all done sketch shit, Miss K. We've all done sketch shit. We don't admit to the sketch shit always, but we've done it.
I've had a really great time talking to you today, and I'm so excited for your class. And by the time this podcast comes out, it will already be on demand, I think. But we're just really grateful to connect with you. You're an incredible human, and thank you for your time.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me.
All right, folks, make sure that you are staying up to date for the latest Reign of Blood Ordeal updates. We should have the close of the early bird sale very shortly. Maybe it'll already have closed by the end of this, by the time this is published. But we love you lots, and we'll see you later.
And we still have scholarships open. Remember, we have full BIPOC scholarships available, and we have a pay as you can scholarship available. So reach out to us. We're happy to make that happen for you. We believe education should be for everybody, and finance should not be a barrier. We are just super excited to be back with season 4. So stay tuned, stay sending me your amazing messages. And from my dungeon in a really beautiful sunny South Africa, lots of love and kitten kisses.